My boss said take the promotion or you're fired. I replied check your inbox, I just sent my resignation to your bosses. My name is Alex, I'm 34, and this is the story of how my nightmare boss tried to trap me into a promotion I didn't want and ended up destroying his own career in the process. I need to give you some background on my job because the whole situation only makes sense if you understand the dynamics. I'm a senior software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. I'd been there for 6 years, worked my way up from junior developer, and had found my sweet spot. I was technical lead on a great team, worked on interesting projects, had excellent work-life balance, and made $135,000 a year plus bonuses. I was genuinely happy. My direct manager was a guy I'll call Richard. He'd been hired about 18 months before all this happened, brought in as director of engineering to modernize our department. From day one, Richard was a nightmare. He was one of those managers who saw management as a power game instead of a responsibility. He'd micromanage some people while completely ignoring others. He'd take credit for his team's work in executive meetings but blame individuals when things went wrong. He played favorites shamelessly, and if you weren't in his inner circle, your life was miserable. I was never in his inner circle. Richard didn't like that I'd been at the company longer than him and had institutional knowledge he lacked. He didn't like that other teams would come directly to me for technical advice instead of going through him. He especially didn't like that I had a good relationship with his boss, the VP of engineering, from back when we'd worked together years ago. For the first year of Richard's tenure, he mostly left me alone. I did my job well, my team hit all our targets, and there wasn't much he could criticize. But he'd make little comments in meetings. Some people are too comfortable in their roles to push themselves, or experience doesn't always mean expertise. I ignored him. I wasn't interested in office politics. I just wanted to code and go home to my family. Everything changed about 6 months ago when one of Richard's favorite employees, a guy named Kyle, got promoted to engineering manager. Kyle was technically competent but had zero people skills and even less interest in actual management work. Within 3 months, his team was falling apart. 2 senior engineers quit. 3 others requested transfers. Projects were missing deadlines. In our industry, that kind of exodus is a red flag, and upper management started asking questions. Richard needed a fix, and fast. His solution? Promote me into a parallel engineering manager role and have me stabilize a different team while Kyle figured us out. He called me into his office on a Monday morning. Alex, I'm promoting you to engineering manager, he announced. You'll be taking over the infrastructure team. Congratulations. I blinked. I don't want to be a manager. Excuse me? I'm a software engineer. I like being a software engineer. I don't want to move into management. Richard's expression hardened. This is a significant opportunity. Most people would be grateful. I appreciate that you think I'd be good at it, but I'm happy in my current role. I don't want to give up coding to do performance reviews and budget meetings. You'd get a raise. Probably $25,000 to $30,000. I don't need the money badly enough to take a job I'd hate. He stared at me like I'd spoken another language. You're turning down a promotion? Yes. That's career suicide, Alex. You stay in the same role too long, you stagnate. People will think you're not ambitious. I'm ambitious about being excellent at what I do. Not about climbing a ladder into work I don't enjoy. Richard leaned back in his chair. I don't think you understand. This isn't really a request. The infrastructure team needs leadership, and you're the most qualified person. I need you to step up. Then you need to find someone who actually wants the job. I'm declining the promotion. His jaw tightened. Think carefully about this, Alex. Declining opportunities can have consequences. Is that a threat? It's reality. This company values people who are willing to grow and take on new challenges. If you're not willing to do that. He shrugged. I left his office feeling uneasy but firm in my decision. I loved coding. I loved solving technical problems. The idea of spending my days in meetings and doing administrative work sounded like hell. Over the next 2 weeks, Richard made my life difficult. He started excluding me from technical decisions about my own projects. He'd schedule meetings when he knew I had conflicts, then criticize me for not attending. He began assigning me grunt work, bug fixes and documentation, while giving the interesting projects to junior developers. My team noticed. What's going on? My lead developer asked. Richard's treating you like an intern. He's mad I turned down a promotion. That's insane. You're the best engineer in this department. I appreciated the support, but Richard's campaign continued. He started making comments in department meetings about people who aren't team players and individual contributors who've hit their ceiling. It was juvenile and transparent, but it was also wearing me down. Then came the meeting that changed everything. Richard called me into his office on a Friday afternoon. I walked in to find him with a printed offer letter. "I had HR draw this up," he said, sliding it across the desk. "Engineering manager position. $160,000 base salary. You start Monday." I didn't touch the paper. "I already told you I'm not interested. And I'm telling you that you don't have a choice anymore. The infrastructure team is a disaster. Kyle's team is barely functional. I need experienced managers, and you're it. Find someone else." There is no one else. Do you think I'd be offering this to someone who clearly doesn't want it if I had better options? That's not my problem, Richard. His face went red. Actually, it is your problem. Because here's the reality, I can't have a senior engineer on my team who refuses to grow into leadership. It sends the wrong message. So you have two options. Take this promotion, or I'll have to let you go. I felt my stomach drop. You're firing me for not taking a promotion? I'm restructuring the team to focus on people who want to be here and contribute to our growth. If that's not you, then we need to part ways. This is retaliation for declining a promotion. That's illegal. It's not retaliation. It's a business decision. Your role as senior technical lead is being eliminated as part of a reorganization. The only comparable position available is engineering manager. If you decline it, there's no role for you. That's how restructuring works. He was smiling slightly. He thought he had me trapped. You're giving me until Monday to decide? I need an answer now, actually. If you're declining, I need to start the separation paperwork and begin recruiting. I looked at him, this petty, insecure man who was trying to force me into a role I didn't want because he needed to save face after his golden boy Kyle had failed. Can I think about it over the weekend? No. I need your answer now. Sign the offer letter or clean out your desk. I pulled out my phone. What are you doing? Sending an email. I typed quickly, then hit send. There. Done. What email? I showed him my phone. The message I'd just sent to Susan Chen, the VP of Engineering, Richard's boss. Subject, resignation effective immediately. Susan, I'm writing to inform you of my resignation from my position as senior software engineer, effective immediately. I've been informed by Richard that my current role is being eliminated and that I'm being forced to either accept a promotion to engineering manager or be terminated. As I've clearly communicated that I have no interest in moving into management, and as I believe this ultimatum constitutes retaliation for declining said promotion, I've decided to resign. I've appreciated my 6 years at this company and especially valued working with you during your time as Director of Engineering. However, I can't continue in an environment where declining a promotion is treated as grounds for termination. I'm available to discuss this further if needed. I've copied HR on this email. Best regards, Alex. I'd CC'd HR and BCC'd my personal email for records. Richard's face went from red to white. You can't just resign. I just did. You said I could take the promotion or leave. I'm leaving. Wait, let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. You gave me an ultimatum. I chose option 3. You don't have a job lined up. You're throwing away your career. Actually, I have 3 standing offers from recruiters who've been contacting me for the past year. I've been declining them because I liked working here. Past tense. That was true. Good senior engineers are always in demand, and I'd been casually networking for years. I could have a new job within 2 weeks if I needed to. Alex, be reasonable. I was reasonable. I explained clearly and professionally that I didn't want to move into management. You responded by trying to force me into it under threat of termination. That's not reasonable. That's coercion. My phone buzzed. Email from Susan, come to my office now please. Richard, you too. I held up my phone. Your boss wants to see us. Richard looked like he might throw up. We walked to Susan's office in silence. She was waiting with the HR director, a sharp woman named Patricia. Sit, Susan said. Her voice was ice. We sat. Alex, I just got your resignation email. Can you explain what happened? I explained the whole thing, the initial promotion offer, my declination, Richard's retaliation, and finally today's ultimatum. I kept it factual and unemotional. Patricia was taking notes. Susan's expression got darker with every sentence. When I finished, Susan turned to Richard. Is this accurate? It's more complicated than. Is it accurate? Did you tell Alex he had to take a promotion or be fired? Richard shifted in his seat. I explained that we're restructuring and that his current role is being eliminated. That's interesting because I haven't approved any restructuring. In fact, this is the first I'm hearing about Alex's role being eliminated. Susan pulled up something on her computer. According to the org chart I reviewed yesterday with you, Alex's position is still very much active and essential. Richard was sweating now. We discussed the possibility of management changes. We discussed Kyle's team falling apart and you needing to address it. We never discussed eliminating roles or forcing promotions. Patricia, what does HR policy say about mandatory promotions? Patricia didn't need to check anything. Promotions must be voluntary. Employees can't be terminated for declining a promotion unless their current role is genuinely being eliminated for documented business reasons, and even then, the company must attempt to place them in a comparable role before termination. And has Richard documented business reasons for eliminating Alex's role? Not that I'm aware of. Susan looked at Richard. So you created a fake restructuring to force a promotion that Alex clearly didn't want, and when he refused, you threatened his job. I was trying to solve a departmental problem. By creating a legal liability and losing one of our best engineers. Brilliant strategy, Richard. Susan, if you'd just let me explain. I've heard enough. She turned to me. Alex, I'd like you to withdraw your resignation. Your role is not being eliminated. Your job is secure. And I apologize on behalf of the company for how this was handled. I thought about it. What happens to Richard? That's between HR and me. But I can assure you that you won't be reporting to him anymore. I looked at Richard. He couldn't meet my eyes. I need some time to think about it, I said. This has been a pretty hostile work environment for the past few weeks. That's fair. Take the rest of today and the weekend. We can talk Monday. Susan stood. Richard, stay here. Patricia and I need to discuss some things with you. I left. As the door closed behind me, I heard Susan say, let's start with your complete lack of judgment. I took the weekend to decompress and reach out to those recruiter contacts. By Monday morning, I had 2 formal interviews scheduled and 1 company ready to make an offer sight unseen based on my reputation. But I also really liked the company I was at, minus Richard. So when Susan called Monday morning, I answered. I've reviewed Richard's conduct over the past few weeks, she said. He's been placed on administrative leave while we complete an investigation. In the interim, you'll report directly to me. If you're willing to stay, I can promise you that Richard won't be returning. What about the infrastructure team? We're promoting one of the senior engineers on that team who actually wants to be a manager. And Kyle is being moved back to individual contributor. Turns out he's much happier coding than managing. So everyone ends up where they want to be. Except Richard. But that's his own fault. I stayed. Richard was officially terminated 2 weeks later after HR's investigation found multiple instances of him retaliating against employees who didn't fall in line with his plans. Turned out I wasn't the first person he'd tried to manipulate, just the first one to document it and escalate. Kyle apologized to me privately. I knew I wasn't ready to be a manager. Richard pushed me into it and I was too flattered to say no. I should have been honest like you were. You were honest eventually. That's what matters. 3 months later, Susan was promoted to senior VP and offered me Richard's old job, director of engineering. I declined. She laughed and said she'd expected that. But I need someone in that role who I can trust, she said. Would you consider it if we restructured it to be more technical and less administrative? You'd have a small team of managers reporting to you, but you'd still be hands-on with architecture and technical strategy. That I could live with. I accepted a modified version of the role that let me stay technical while also having some leadership influence. It came with a $45,000 raise and the title without the parts of the job I hated. Here's what I learned: never let anyone pressure you into a role you don't want, even if they frame it as a threat. Richard assumed I'd cave because most people do when their job is threatened. But I knew my value and had options. Also, document everything. That email I sent wasn't impulsive. I'd been keeping notes on Richard's behavior for weeks. When the moment came, I had a clear record to present. And finally, sometimes the best career move is the one that keeps you happy, not the one that looks best on paper. I could have taken that original engineering manager role and been miserable. Instead, I stood my ground and ended up with something better. Richard learned that you can't bully people into fixing your mistakes. And that threatening someone who has leverage rarely ends well for the person making the threats. Last I heard, he's working at a startup that's struggling. I hope he learned something from the experience, but I'm not optimistic. If you made it this far, thanks for reading. Drop a comment with your thoughts, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you in the next one.